Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Glee Episode 18, The Backup Plan. And this episode was really intense. It really was. It was intense, not really intense, but definitely a big episode for Rachel, especially because of what happened to her in this episode. And you know what, honestly, Rachel did it to herself, and I like where they're going with the show. I will say that this was probably a weaker episode. A weaker episode of the show. Wasn't the best of the season or anything. I feel like out of all the New York episodes, it was probably the weakest. And I liked everything about the episode until like the last 5 seconds, which I thought were really stupid. However, I do like what they are setting up, and I do want to get to that. So let's just get to the episode. The main plot is Rachel, of course, because Rachel's the main character in the show. And this plot, basically, Rachel has been doing very well in Funny Girl. It takes place 3 weeks after the opening night of Funny Girl. She's doing really well. She's like this huge star now. She's even considering being nominated for a Tony Award, which I'm glad that they did mention that because, Tony Awards actually came out. The Tony Award nominations did come out today, which I will be doing a video on that. Not till I know more of the nominations and like what they sound like. I will be doing a video on that though. But that's another video. But, I was happy that they did that. And Rachel meets up, with this one guy who is her, like, publicist or something like that. I don't remember who he is, but he's basically asking her what's next. And because he's asking her what else does she want to do in her life, and she says she'd love to do a movie, a TV show. And you know what, I wasn't surprised by this, because Rachel said herself in an episode, I don't remember when it was, but she one day said that she wanted to win an EGOT, which, if you don't know what that is, that means Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. So I'm not surprised that she wanted to go out for a TV show and everything. However, I did feel it was too soon. Definitely too soon to do that, and she is told by this guy, though, that she's not good for TV. He sees her more as a radio face, face on the radio. He doesn't see her as a TV person. He doesn't think she'd be good for that. And he tells her that, he doesn't think that she would be good for that. And that she, should just continue with what she's doing, because he just doesn't think that she's inclined for acting. He just doesn't think she'd be good at that. So I was kind of surprised by that, but Rachel is really upset by this. She sings the song Wake Me Up. I like the way they do this scene. We see, like, a whole bunch of different, we see a whole bunch of different nights, and basically Rachel's doing the same show day in and day out. She's kind of getting tired of it, and I thought that scene was really well done, because it's really just showing that Rachel's kind of just tired of it. She's tired of doing the same show every week, and, I was kind of disappointed with Rachel in this episode, believe it or, I must say, because the thing is, that is your show that you committed yourself to. And the thing is, you have wanted to do Funny Girl for years now. That's all you've talked about is Barbra Streisand, Barbra Streisand. Why all of a sudden do you want to not do that? I just thought that was really weird. It kind of just came out of nowhere, and I wasn't the hugest fan of that. But she's approached by this guy who's doing a TV show called Sons of Samador or something like that. I don't remember. But, she gets really excited about it. She really wants to audition for it. She really takes that into consideration. And she goes up to Sydney, asking him if she could possibly take a couple days off. And she talks to him and says, I'm so glad we're a hit. I'm so glad the show's working out and everything. And, she's asking him if she can take a couple days off. And he's like, oh, absolutely not. You're a huge star now. Why the hell would you want to take a couple more days off? You're such a huge star. Why would you want to do that? And, Rachel kind of says, just to give my understudy another chance and everything. And honestly, just very unprofessional what Rachel was doing this episode. Very unprofessional. I was kind of disappointed with her character in this episode. It was very out of character for Rachel in this episode to just want to do a TV thing. As I said, this was not the best episode of the season. It definitely was one of the weaker episodes. Was it a horrible, horrible episode? No, it really was not. It just was, very out of character for Rachel. She then has a conversation with Kurt, and Kurt basically says, what the hell are you doing? You have said that you've always wanted to be on Broadway, never thought you wanted to do a TV show, and he tells her straight out, do not lie to Sydney. He says, you can try to do whatever you want to, but you cannot lie to Sydney about this. And she does not take Kurt's advice. He eventually says, all right, go out for it, but don't lie to Sydney. She does not listen to him. She lies directly to Sydney, tells him that she has, a sore throat and she can't go on. He gets really concerned and everything. And she says, oh, just let my understudy go on. It'll be fine. And, it's interesting there. And unfortunately, what happens is she goes to the TV casting thing, and she thinks it's gonna be a musical, so she sings a song, "The Rose," which, by the way, that was beautiful. They wasted that song in that scene. She could have done it in a much different scene. It would have been great. But definitely, that was one of Rachel's best solos of the season. I mean, it was great. I love that they're really giving Rachel more solos. I love the focus on Rachel because, she is the star she is the star now. But, I wasn't exactly happy with her character in the episode. I still love the focus on Rachel because it really does show, what happens to some people. This does happen to people. And, she was talking to Kurt about saying, like Meryl Streep never got in, Hugh Jackman, things like that. And, I thought that was a very interesting conversation. But he said, no one ever closes on their opening. No one ever leaves out, a week, not even a month after their opening night. So I thought that was a really interesting conversation. But again, she goes over to the TV director. She thinks it's going to be a musical. And we see the casting director kind of look like, what is she exactly doing? He's looking at her like, what is she doing? He looks like he wants to say something. And I'm just like, why are you interrupting her song? Turns out, it's not a musical. The show they're doing is not a musical. It is, in fact, a sci-fi fantasy show, and it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy meets Game of Thrones. Rachel, plays it cool and everything. She's like, okay, it's fine. What happens is that she ends up, doing horrible at the audition. Just horrible. I mean, she's not good for that. And I knew she wouldn't be good. I'm like, Rachel is not good for this. She's doing it and she's just not good. So, and that does not work out. She's really upset that it didn't work out. And then she gets a call from Sydney, and the worst thing that could have happened happens. The girl that was supposed to be her understudy ended up falling off the steps and hurting herself. So Rachel has to go on for it at 7 o'clock. But unfortunately, Rachel's all the way in LA right now, so there's no way in hell that's going to happen. So somehow they need to create some sort of a way to fix it. And Rachel calls Kurt, says it's an emergency, we need to get someone to go on. And he ends up getting Santana to go on. And Santana, does her understudy thing for her. And Rachel and Santana have a really nice conversation. I really love their conversation. Basically, she tells Rachel that, she's amazing and everything. And not amazing, but, she tells Rachel that it was great to, as in her being an understudy, it was amazing to do it for one night. She really enjoyed that. Also, I love Santana's character in this episode. Not mean or anything, not, being mean to Rachel, just being a really good friend to Rachel, and that's what we need to see Santana be. It's just a good friend to Rachel and a good friend to everyone. That's what I really want to see. I really hope that rumor of Naya Rivera leaving Glee is not true, because she had some great scenes in this episode, and I feel that whole thing with Naya Rivera leaving Glee, it's just bullshit. They just wrote Santana out of the episode, and I mean, maybe the whole thing about her being a diva is true or whatever, or the whole thing about her being unprofessional is true, but I don't think the whole writing of Naya Rivera off of Glee, I don't think they would do that. I really don't think they do that. Ryan Murphy knows what he wants, and Santana is one of the most essential people on Glee right now, and everyone loves Santana, so Rachel tells Santana, is there a catch to this or something, and Santana says there's no catch, she says she's sorry if she comes across that way, but she really does care for Rachel, she really did want to help her, and they end up having a really nice conversation about that, and I was really happy with that. And then Rachel says that she also told all of them that she did end up telling Sydney the truth, about what happened. And unfortunately, because of this, she's in a board meeting with him. Really, really intense scene here. I would have been fine if they ended the episode this way. If they would have ended the episode this way, this episode would have been fine. Because of the last 5 seconds of this episode, I was not happy at the end. Because they have this really big conversation, and he tells her that, I'm not going to fire you. He says that. He says, I'm not going to fire you this time. But if this happens again, I will not only throw you out of the show, I will not only fire you. He said, I was contemplating firing you. And I like the way he was, angry in it, because any casting director should act that way. By the way, this episode felt a lot like Smash because of the way she was acting. Kind of like how Karen was in Smash when she was doing Bombshell and Hit List and Jerry said no. That's what this reminded me of on Glee. It really reminded me of that, and I was happy that they did that. Although Karen's a better character than Rachel anyway, but whatever. I mean, they're both great characters, but Karen she's not as, I mean, Rachel's still my favorite character, but she was annoying in this episode. She really was. She ends up going to this, meeting, and he tells her, I was contemplating to fire you. I was going to fire you. And I'm not going to fire you because you're our star, you're making us a lot of money right now, and if I fire you, that'd be a terrible thing. He says, if this happens again, I will not only fire you, I will sue you all of the money that I have given you, and I will completely sue you of that. And he's like, you gotta pull your act together. You can't, he's like, I feel betrayed right now, and I'm really, really upset with you, and you really gotta do better. And then he said, get the hell out of my office. Rachel's really upset. And then she gets a call from the casting director. By the way, he was played by Jim Rash from, Jim Rash from Community, he's really funny in the show. I liked his character in this episode. He tells her that, the sci-fi fantasy thing, it did not work, obviously. She didn't do well with that. But they do want to do a TV show about Rachel. What? No. No. I am not for this at all, because there's nothing that interesting about Rachel except she's a girl from Ohio who went to a high school. Now she's, she went to NIADA, now she's in a show, and now she's auditioning for a TV show. That's not interesting. There are many, many girls who do that, so you're telling me that just because Rachel is in Funny Girl, that you should make a show about her? No, that's really stupid, and I find that to be probably one of the stupidest things ever, and I'm not for that at all. Rachel gets everything that she wants, as much as even though she is my favorite character, she gets everything she wants, and I'm kind of tired of it. I would have loved it if the episode would have ended with, Sydney yelling at Rachel. I would have loved that to be the end of the episode, but because of the last 5 seconds, I'm not happy. However, Rachel's really going to have to make a choice here about what's more important, because now she's kind of stuck, because she doesn't want Sydney on her, she doesn't want, any blood on her hands with Sydney, with that whole thing, but at the same time, she doesn't want to, say no to this TV show because it's a really big opportunity for her. So I like where this is going. I like what we're going to see here, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in the next episode. So Rachel's plot, I really enjoyed it, even though Rachel was acting very childish, and he told her she's childish and everything. And, even though she was acting very childish, it was kind of realistic. This does happen to some actors and actresses. So, overall, I thought that plot was good. Let's go to Blaine's plot. Blaine's plot, personally, at first I did not like it. Let's talk about Shirley MacLaine on the show. I liked her character. I like June Dalloway. Basically, Kurt's telling Blaine that June Dalloway is basically doing this thing for NIADA, and he's planning on singing the song "Story of My Life," which was a horrible choice, by the way. Horrible choice. Seriously, what were they thinking with that song? You're in a NIADA audition for probably, in the show, she's supposed to be like this huge Broadway star, and you audition with a pop song, and it's Story of My Life by One Direction. No. I could think of many duets, Broadway duets, that you two would have been fine with, and just, no. Story of My Life, just, no, I was not happy with that at all. I mean, the performance was fine, it was a Kurt and Blaine duet, what do you expect? It's amazing, but still, I found that to be really annoying that they picked that song for Kurt and Blaine to sing. I just found that really annoying. But however, what happens is when they sing the song, she picks Blaine over Kurt. And you know what? I'm kind of upset at this whole Blaine-Kurt competition thing because Kurt and Blaine, honestly, why can't they just make it a package deal? I mean, I understand that this happens to people in real life, so it is realistic. At the same time, though, can we just make it a package deal? Can they just say, I would have loved if Blaine just said, hey, me and Kurt are a package deal, I can't accept this from you. And basically, but he says yes, because this is June Dalloway, who is a huge person and everything, and she introduces him to, a bunch of people, and they perform this horrible duet, Piece of My Heart. Like, what the fuck were you thinking, Glee? Making Shirley MacLaine sing a classic rock song. That was awful. I'm not gonna I know that sometimes I favor this show. I know sometimes I make the show sound better than it is. That, honestly, let's just admit it, that was one of the worst songs of the entire season. Because Shirley MacLaine was not good for that song. And I'm not saying she did a good job. She did do a good job with what she had. But because of the song, no. It was awful. It really was an awful choice. And they should have sang something else. I don't even know. I couldn't think of so many other songs they could have done. Like a Broadway song of some sort. But they should have not have done that song. It was not a good choice at all. Basically, though, what happens is he gets to talk to, June Dalloway and everything, and she tells him that she wants him to do a one-man show with her, a one-man, one-woman show, and he tells Kurt about it, and Kurt thinks that he's included, and Blaine is kind of like, yeah, but I'm kind of thinking that Kurt, you can tell that Blaine's thinking, Kurt's not really included, what am I going to tell him, and, that's kind of sad, because Kurt's not included in this. He wants to be included, but he's not included. This is Blaine's thing, and it's kind of sad there. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I am interested in that, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So, Kurt and Blaine's plot, I thought it was interesting. Definitely not as interesting as Rachel's. Rachel's was the most interesting in the episode by far, but Kurt and Blaine's plot still was interesting. This episode was kind of all about people taking different opportunities, seeing what they do with them, and I like that. Then Mercedes and Santana. This pissed me off. Really, it did. So, Santana wants to give Mercedes a new sound to her song. That's fine. I like that. So, they sing this song, Doo-Wop, which was very well done. I really like that song. A lot of swag, a lot of sassiness from Santana. Sexy, sassy Santana is back. I love that about Santana. That's one of the reasons I love Santana on the show, is because she's sexy, she's sassy, she's an all-around perfect character. She does have flaws sometimes, but this episode, she was a pretty perfect character. And, they kill it in this audition. And they're not in the recording studio because it's not exactly going well for Mercedes and everything. So they say, let's go out of the recording studio. And her manager, basically, Deshaun, I think his name is, basically says that, Santana, you're not a good singer. Mercedes is better than you. Santana, you're just a backup singer. And I was really pissed off by that because Santana killed that song. Santana made that song the best, and Santana was the one that made that song perfect. So I was really pissed at that. But luckily, Santana, got to perform in Funny Girl, and she was fine after that. But that was the episode. And overall, I was not as happy with this episode as I have been for the past 4 episodes. No Sam, no Artie the entire episode, no explanation on where they are, whatever. How'd I feel overall about this episode? Overall, this episode for me was kind of more of a middle-of-the-road episode. I really like the Rachel plot. I like where that is going. I think it's not so much the fame has gone to Rachel's head. It's that she wants to do so many things at the same time, and she's realizing she doesn't realize that she can't. She's committed to one thing. She needs to stay committed to it, and Rachel's always going to be my favorite character, but the thing is, in this episode, she kind of pissed me off. Blaine's plot, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Blaine and Kurt there. Is Rachel going to get fired from the show? Here's where I think the show is going. Rachel is going to be in between Funny Girl and this show now. And I'm thinking that she's going to be making a very difficult decision between that, and I think whatever happens, even if she takes it, Sydney's going to find out, and he's going to end up firing her, because I heard the finale is explosive. That's what Ryan Murphy said. Ryan Murphy said explosive is an understatement. It's like the biggest finale they've ever done. It's really going to change the show, so I'm looking forward to that. Santana, I don't know what's going to happen with her. I'm kind of wondering if maybe she'll take Rachel's place in Funny Girl. I don't know. That was kind of just a thought, but it could happen. Kurt and Blaine, I don't know where this is going. Is this headed for possibly the relationship ending? I think it could be. I'm thinking they're going to break them up this season because the thing is, we've had fight after fight with them. We didn't have a fight on this episode, really, but the thing with Kurt and Blaine is that Blaine has kind of had this opportunity that Kurt doesn't have, and Blaine was really jealous of Kurt in that last episode. Now Kurt's realizing Blaine is kind of taking my spot, so I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. And if Kurt will actually perform with June and Blaine, if that's going to happen, I don't think that's going to happen. It looks like next week is going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about it. Next week is a Chris Colfer directed episode, the episode that Chris Colfer directed, and it's all about him, Kurt, doing like this Peter Pan thing for elderly people. It's going to be really funny. Rachel's gonna be stuck between, you know, what she's doing, and I think there's a third plot. It's with Mercedes and Sam and dogs. I don't know, that's kind of random, but what do you guys think of this episode? Overall, again, pretty middle-of-the-road episode for me. Definitely not as good as the first 4 episodes of the show, which were all around, you know, all 4 of the episodes have been amazing so far. This episode was still great. It just was not as good as the other ones. That's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely not as good as last week's. Last week's was so amazing, and this one just was not as good. I didn't expect it to be. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. And I'll see you guys in my next review, which will be my review for Awkward. So, I'll see you then. Bye.